Hey horror fans, welcome back to Room 237, coming at you with another horror movie review. And this time, it's not an Italian horror movie, but it's done in the style of Giallo. It's actually a Spanish-American film. That is Pieces from 1982. This is a slasher film, but slasher, especially in the early 80s, they were heavily influenced by the Italian Giallo films. And this is probably the closest I've seen to a Giallo that's an American film. I like the tagline, "You don't have to go to Texas for a chainsaw massacre." Even says it on the back too. This is sort of like the Beyond. This was released through Grindhouse Releasing, which it comes with a poster, which I actually took down because it was up there. I'm going to move it somewhere else, but the original poster, which I really like, it's exactly what you think it is. I love this poster. The Beyond is in its original Italian, and you go on Wikipedia, it gives you the Spanish poster, but that's fine. I like this. There's the Spanish one. There's also an essay by someone on here. A lot of stuff to read. Also, with these Grindhouse, you take both discs out, you get a great back. Like that's from a shower scene where a girl's cut in half. This movie's bloody. This is known as one of the sleaziest, bloodiest, most awesome slasher films, and I always have fun watching this. Just on the back, you get people like Joe Bob Briggs, who I really like. He did Monster Vision on TNT in the 90s. The best chainsaw flick since the original Chainsaw Massacre. Splatter City, 4 stars. Eli Roth, one of my top favorite horror films of all time. A masterpiece of early 80s sleaze, full on chainsaw violence, absurd amounts of nudity, and the greatest ending in horror history. I'll say the nudity isn't as gratuitous as it can be in other movies. The ending, I'm kind of iffy on the ending, because it really has the false ending, and then it just goes on for another scene. But yeah, this is just fun. This is a great slash flick. And the thing is, this is not as remembered as, say, My Bloody Valentine or The Burning or Maniac or The Prowler. It should be. I mean, more people... It seems like there's a bigger fan base and more people remember, like, Happy Birthday to Me, Prom Night, House on Sorority Row, more than this. House on Sorority Row, I think is Prom Night, I don't remember shit from. I own that. I have House on Sorority Row, Prom Night. I used to own Happy Birthday to Me. I got rid of that a long time ago because I wanted to get different ones. Now I got to buy it back again. But Pieces, it feels like a Giallo because you have the black-gloved killer, great violence, very bloody, some sort of motive from the killer. But it's also like a slasher film because we get a backstory. We see something that happened to the killer like 40 years ago. Then we jump to present time, but we don't know who the killer is until the end. So the movie opens up, it takes place in Boston, it opens up 1942, there's a young boy putting a puzzle together. Puzzle of a naked woman. His mother comes in, scolds him, and she doesn't, I can understand walking on your kid doing something bad, but she calls him like stupid, and she hits him, and she's gonna make him throw it away. He goes to get a trash bag, but he comes back with an axe, and you get this great shot. It kind of reminded me of Nightmares on a Damaged Brain, the ending to that movie. It's sort of like an upward shot of this kid just hacking his mother to pieces. And I love the look because it's very gritty and grainy, like low quality looking, which I love in old slasher flicks. Plus, you just have like the 40s aesthetic around it. And then when blood's everywhere, he just goes back to doing his puzzle. And then when the cops come, he hides in the closet, acts like a victim. Then we jump to present day, 1982. We're at a college campus. And I'm even right off, there's a girl like studying over by like the garden. She gets hacked to shit with a chainsaw. So I mean, there's I think I counted 9 deaths in 85 minutes. That's not bad at all. Red herrings. Oh, so there's the murder at the college. Then the police are getting involved. So they take one of their officers, I guess. They put her undercover as the tennis coach. And then they're going to try and figure this out. She sort of becomes, slash films and giallos, you get like a group of the characters together. She's played by Linda Day. The lieutenant is Christopher George, who was in City of Living Dead. I mentioned that in my last review. I guess those two were married in real life, Linda Day and Christopher George. And then there's this other kid named Kendall, played by Ian Sarah. They're sort of our core group of characters. Well, Kendall gets involved because there's a note left for him by this girl in the library saying she wants to fuck underwater, so to meet him at the school pool. Yeah, that girl, she goes ahead of time. She gets completely dismembered with a chainsaw. So that's awesome. And then it's just them trying to solve it. And slash films, you don't got to go much into the story. I'm already at 7.5 minutes. Eventually they figure out who the killer is, and they stop him. But first there's a red herring. The groundskeeper is played by, I actually want to get his name right, Paul Smith, who people might recognize as Bluto from Popeye. Of course, he's a big brute in this too. When the pool girl gets dismembered, he starts fighting people because he knows he's gonna be a suspect. He gets arrested. I think that's a shot of the mother getting axed. Yeah, that's the shot I was talking about with the... this camera sucks. The kid going to hack his mother. And then you get like a death scene. I think one of the more famous ones is there's a girl, because the school just got a waterbed in the weight room. She gets stabbed a bunch of times, and there's a lot of slow-mo, and you see the water fill up with blood. But then she gets stabbed through the back of the head, and the blade comes out the mouth, and it's in profile. That looks awesome. There's, of course, there's the girl in the shower who gets cut in half. Oh yeah, the girl in the beginning, she actually gets decapitated. All the deaths except for the first one are done with a chainsaw. The first one was done with an axe. So, and also the killer, he has like the black gloves, he's got the coat, the fedora, so he is like a Giallo killer. So I would say Pieces and Friday the 13th. Even though Friday the 13th doesn't look like a Giallo killer at all. But, the whole mystery and red hair could be this person, could be that person. But definitely this one. This one is definitely the most non-Italian Giallo I've ever seen, and I love this movie. So the killer, it's like, has a thing for like women's shoes, kind of like Jerry Brudos, the real life serial killer, has a thing for women's shoes. Um, you find out at the end, spoiler alert, but I don't know. It's 1982, and this is a cult film, so I don't know who I'd be spoiling it for. It's the dean of the university. The undercover woman, Linda Day, she goes to see the dean. He drugs her so she's paralyzed. And then he starts touching her feet, putting shoes on her. And of course, that's the magic moment in Hollywood where our heroes find out who the killer is. Find out it's the dean. They're like, oh, his mother was hacked up when he was a kid. That must have screwed him up. So they still don't assume that it was him that killed his mother. So just as he's trying to kill her, Christopher George shoots him in the head. They come through and they shoot him in the head. So the false endings, they're all just like, wow, I can't believe it was him. Then they find the bloody puzzle from the beginning. And the Kendall kid's like, wow. There's something about finding stuff. And this one officer's like, oh yeah, you find stuff everywhere. And he leans against a bookcase and it spins around. And there's like this Frankenstein monster corpse of all his victims' body parts put together with his mother's dress. Falls on the Kendall kid. There it could have ended. It would have been fine. But, probably just wanted to juice up a little bit more. Some time goes by. They're still in the room. And just as Kendall goes to put his jacket on, the dean's hand reaches up, grabs his crotch area, and just digs into him, through his jeans. You see the blood, then of course you see the you hear the squish, it ripped and squished his friggin' dick and balls. Freeze frame on his screaming face. So it's okay, it was a nice surprise. I guess explaining it isn't as bad as when I saw it. I was just at that first, the false ending might have been just fine. I don't know. Maybe, I'm pausing now because I'm well, do I actually not like it? I don't know. I guess because he got shot in the head. I don't know. It's supposed to just be a slasher jump scare, but whatever. Pieces, very fun movie. The effects, everything is this bloody. This movie is a bloodbath. And this movie was made for $300,000, the same budget as Halloween, and it had almost as much gore as Friday the 13th. Friday the 13th has a bigger variety of kills, whereas this one's all chainsaw. Actually, it's kind of funny. They make the Chainsaw Massacre joke. More people get killed with the chainsaw in this than in the four original Friday 30 Texas Chainsaw Massacre movies. 9 deaths in this. How many actually get killed with the chainsaw in the first 4 Chainsaw Massacre films? But the original Chainsaw Massacre is one of my favorite movies of all time. Probably second or third. But anyway, I'm tired. I'm going off on a tangent. But $300,000, this looks fantastic for $300,000. And the effects are... I was reading, whenever there's hacking or dismembering, they're using a pig carcass. And all the intestines and meat and guts that are used were slaughterhouse scraps. So that works. The gore is beautiful in this. And that's what this movie's known for. It's known for just being just a fucking bloody bloodbath. Bloody bloodbath. Anyway, I'm kind of all over the place on this. Pieces, I would say this is essential. If you're going to have a slasher collection, this is very essential to have. Not a lot of people talk about it, but it is a classic. This was on the Video Nasties list, but then again, so was The Funhouse, and that movie's not gory at all. But Pieces, one of the most fun slasher films I've ever seen. Great ratio of gore and actual story. Acting's not bad. It's sleazy, it's gritty, it's grainy, but everything we look for, the gore and the violence and the kills, look beautiful. And if you can get this Grindhouse releasing, I'm sure there's actually a better Blu-ray by now, but yeah, Pieces, great slasher flick, definitely check it out. From Room 237, I'm out. Thank you.